Hey, everybody out there in Cryptid Land. I want you to join us tonight as we talk to Matt Parrish. We've got a great interview with him. We're going to be talking a little bit about some Thunderbirds, but a lot about some Bigfoot. And me and my producer, Dirty, over there, are happy to bring it to you. So join us tonight on the Cryptid Quest Podcast. So tonight we have Matt Parrish, and you're from Washington State, correct?
Correct, from the Olympic Peninsula.
Yeah. That's a good area. So I know you got some stories from, was it Texas? Am I right?
I do. I have some stories of some things that happened down there, and some that are not necessarily Bigfoot, but some that might be Bigfoot. I can't really say what they were because they were just sounds that we heard.
Well,
but before we get too much into it, I wanted to share the gear here for a minute with your audience, and it's coming up in time for the holidays. You got to get you one of these crypto.
Hell yeah!
Crypto. I'm gonna take the jacket off because it's a little warm. I was hanging on to that for a minute, that jacket. But yeah, for Christmas, you got to pick up one of these guys. I love this shirt, and it's got everything on it. It's
a little bit of everything.
It. Yeah.
That's why on this show we like to talk about everything.
Right. And for 5 easy payments, Patrick will sit. No.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
no.
And I know you've got another recent encounter that I've been.
Yeah.
Are we gonna save that for last, or what are we gonna do?
We could probably save that for last.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to, we can go to the Texas stuff and talk a little bit about how I got into all this.
That'd be great. That'd be a great opener.
Yeah. So, ever since I was a little kid, my dad and my grandfather used to love to kind of torture us, I guess you could say, all of us kids, with the stories of Bigfoot and stuff like that out in the woods. Like you said, they call them boogers down there.
Yeah.
Or woolly boogers.
Woolly boogers.
Yeah, woolly boogers. I think that's what my grandpa referred to them as. And so, anyways, I always thought of it like unicorns or fairy tales, something like that. I never really took it too serious, right? Until I hit the first grade. And I remember going into our library, and there was a book, and I seen that picture right there of Patty. And that, it was just kind of, whoa, this thing could exist. For me, that took me from, fairy tales to possibly. And so, I was always interested from that. I wanted to learn more, but unfortunately in those days, in the early 90s, you couldn't really, there was no Finding Bigfoot or Expedition Bigfoot or anything like that. So you had to go to the library to find stuff, and they were limited on books that they had. So when I would use up all those books, my mom was kind enough, she would take me to the next town, and I would start using up their books in that library. And
that's awesome.
So yeah, that's how I pretty much got started in it all. I was always kind of interested, and not too far from where I grew up, we actually have a road called Ghost Road out in Signo in East Texas there. And they have these lights that appear on the road. It's just a 7-mile dirt road through the middle of the big thicket. There's nothing there at all. And there's a story about, there's the whole legend behind it. Of course, there was a railroad that ran through there, and a guy was walking, he fell asleep and had his head severed on the tracks. And so now he walks up and down the road with the lantern looking for his head. And we would go out there, and we wouldn't really, sometimes you see something, and then sometimes you don't, so it's still a phenomenon there. You can look it up on YouTube. So that really kind of drew me in a little bit more into the unknown. And but no, the first real exciting thing, I guess, as far as Sasquatch happened, that is kind of squatchy. I was staying at my grandparents' house there in the big thicket, and there's a ton of stories about Bigfoot and all throughout that region in East Texas. And we were, they had just like a little camper trailer out off the beaten path out in the forest. And there's a little RV park that they had where they played bluegrass music and mountain music festivals type stuff on the weekends. But during the week, there was nobody. And So we're out there, and I remember it was around 11 o'clock at night. Me and my grandmother were playing Uno. I was maybe 14, 15. And we could hear something off down in the creek screaming a little distance away, but we didn't think anything. My grandfather come out. He said, "Oh, that's just a cat." That's, I guess he was talking about a big cat, mountain lion, or something like that. And so we just kept playing, kind of ignored it. And after a while, it stopped, and everything got silent. And we just, we kept on. We were having a good time, and whatever it was had made its way up to where we were at, and we had just a campfire going, so that's really all our source of light. A little lantern on the table so we could see our cards, and whatever, it was just beyond the light where you couldn't see anymore. This thing screamed at us so loud you could feel it in your chest. You could feel it vibrate through the table, the little plastic table that we were sitting at. And in the middle of its scream, it transitioned from a scream to a baby laughing. There was no pause, no stop. It just went from screaming into like a child's laughter. It was very unnerving, I guess you could say. So at that point, me and my grandmother, nobody had to say nothing. We just getting up. We're going to the house, because whatever this is right there, just beyond, right there on the edge of the campfire. And about that time, my grandfather, he steps out with his gun. He's, "Hey, come on," So we get in the house, and whatever it was, it kept him up all night. And he was avid woodsman, been out. He grew up in the UP up in Michigan. That's where they're from. And or he would go hunting up in the UP. They actually lived near Detroit, but he would tell me stories about hunting up there.
So,
So he knew all kinds of wildlife.
do you think he ever had an experience and maybe just not shared it with you, or
I don't think so, because we were pretty close. I felt like if he had had an experience, he would have shared that with me. But he always urged me to keep an open mind and to the possibility of things. There's so much. He was a free thinker type guy. He wasn't one of these ones that takes something that somebody says and just that's what it is. He would always push us to expand our thinking and think beyond the natural sometimes. And me and him, we would have lengthy discussions about, you name it, anything and everything from UFOs to Bigfoot to the Loch Ness, and so that really kind of drove me. And then of course them coming from all the way from Michigan down to Texas, and resettling there, kind of helped me do what I'm doing now. Kind of showed me that it is possible that you can travel a great distance to, of course they did it for other reasons, than what I did it for. But
yeah? Well, that's kind of cool to go from the Upper Peninsula down to the Big Thicket. I mean, that's
yeah,
like asking for trouble.
they were actually doing missionary work in the 60s, and went to Guatemala, and then the government changed and they had to come back, and they just resettled in East Texas.
Well, I mean,
So that's how they ended up there.
well, kind of lined your path for you by doing that. So
Yeah.
that's
And then,
cool.
dad, my dad, he's like I said, he's avid about Bigfoot. He loves Bigfoot. He that's his kind of escape. He's in law enforcement and he's been doing that my whole life. He's actually the chief back in our hometown. So when he gets done dealing with criminals and stuff like that for the day, he likes to come and unwind with the monsters and stuff, the shows, and that's kind of his little getaway. So that kind of was imprinted on us as well.
That well,
Yeah.
that's cool. It makes a huge difference, when people in your life don't poo-poo you, but they believe in you, and they help you
Yeah.
look the same. I mean, it's a huge difference. I've got the same support in my family, and it makes a huge difference because so many people are just beeholes. I'm sorry, they are.
Well, I have to admit, I was a lieutenant for the state of Texas before I did this job that I'm doing now. And so when we would, over the last 13 years or so, I've traveled the country, for vacations and stuff. But I always kind of secretly pick squatchy spots, kind of because I'm curious, so while we're there, I also have an agenda, we're having fun, but I also want to look and see, I'm trying to find the best possible habitat that I think could support these creatures. And so when we came here in 2018, we had an experience where we heard what sounded like the Ohio long call, what I know now as the Ohio.
Ohio Howl.
Yeah, and so I told my wife, I said, we got to come back. And it was always the game plan to retire here. We just happened to be able to do it a lot sooner than we expected. And in 2021, we got back from vacation and we were sitting on the couch and we looked at one another and she said, you want to just, I said, let's just go for it. Let's just go back and do it. And everybody thought we were crazy because we had to do a fire sale on our stuff real quick and we loaded up what we could and it's been an adventure ever since. We haven't looked back. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. I mean, at least you're following your dreams, man. And
oh yeah,
that's a huge part of what, I don't know, when you're doing this thing, and you gotta have a passion for it. I mean, you can't just
right.
walk into it willy nilly.
I've seen a lot of people over the years. They study these billionaires like Bill Gates and stuff. A lot of people are so success driven, and the way I look at it is if you study those people and what they did, everybody seems to miss the secret sauce, and the secret sauce is they're passionate about what they do. Whether it's Bill Gates, whatever, you can't replicate that recipe, but you just have to follow the passion and whatever you're passionate about, and it'll carry you, man. It'll pave a way for you. You just gotta, listen to that still small voice and all the stuff that tells you this is crazy, don't do it, it's not gonna work. Just push it all out and just go for it.
100%. That's kind of how I felt when Dirty, my producer, and I were talking about doing this. I'm just like, this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy, but it's like, you know
Right.
what the heck else am I doing?
Just go for it.
And yeah, and I love it. I love the subject. I love everything about it. Honestly, I've only really had Bigfoot experiences and some UFO, some ghost. Well, okay, so I've had a few, but I've not really ran into any other cryptids personally. So before we get into any more good stuff, are there any other cryptids out there that really intrigue you?
Oh well, there's lots. I'm intrigued by them all, but I'm really intrigued by the ones that I feel like could possibly be real. Those are the ones. Kind of like you were. I watched your show with Jason,
Yeah.
and y'all were talking about the bat squatch, and he's like, and I feel the same way about bat squatch. Or like the Mothman. I'm not real sure about that. Maybe we could just put a giant spotlight out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we could catch it.
Yeah.
But no, like the Thunderbird, I sent you a while back a video of that. I filmed something out here. I don't, I'm not saying that that's what. I'm not saying that that's what that was a Thunderbird, but could that possibly be the bird that inspired the legend? The legend of the Thunderbird originates from right here on the Olympic Peninsula. Most people don't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah,
that's very cool.
Quileute tribe. And so it actually, the Thunderbird here is more of a, in their stories, it's more of a hero type of a hero role. Than anything else in their stories. But when I saw that bird, I mean, it was massive. I've never seen a bird. I've seen lots of eagles. I've seen condors in the zoo. I've never seen them in the wild. This was way bigger, and I mean, it could have been one of those. I'm not saying that it was was a Thunderbird, but it just was really bizarre how it just kept soaring. And I posted it up on the Paranormal Wilderness. That's my Facebook page for all my cryptid stuff research. I posted it up on there if anybody wants to go check it out. It was just something
You
really
do you
interesting. I've
mind
never
if
seen it
we
again.
you mind if we post it with this interview?
No, yeah, you can post it with the interview.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Cool. So, and I remember you talking because we discussed it before, and you said the wingspan was the
It was from tip to tip. Rough guess, it was just a little bit larger than my Dodge pickup in length,
wow,
um, from tip to tip.
wow.
And I got when I first snapped the first picture that you see with the tree in the background, it was just right over here off to my right. And then by the time I'd actually got recording it, had done made it over the lake here, right behind me, and it was just soaring. Like that's the thing that I thought was weird because a lot of birds, even your larger birds, like your eagles and stuff, they're constantly having to flap.
Flat.
This thing was so big that it was just riding the current, and it wasn't doing the circular motion a whole lot like the
Like the
way a
vultures
vulture
do.
would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I thought, wow, that is so bizarre. I don't know what that is. It's a record sized bird if it is something that we know like an eagle or a vulture.
Yeah, but
But my thought was, is this what inspires the stories?
it,
Is this, or
you're
is this a
100%
new
right, though.
species?
I mean, I like watching birds myself, and you can tell the type of bird just by the way it flaps its wings. You really can.
Right, right.
So I get that and I dig that because you're a man of the outdoors, obviously, very observant and I don't know. I don't. It's intriguing.
It
I guess
is.
that's the
Yeah,
best word I can come up with.
yeah. I mean, there's so many cryptids out there that that are intriguing. And people when they think of cryptids, they think of like monsters, but sometimes it's just like the Black Panthers in East Texas. They're not documented, but they're there. People see them,
Yeah.
and I know people that are very credible that have seen them. But if you go to the Texas Parks and Wildlife page, they're
Nope.
not there.
They ain't
So
here.
yeah, so but I know there's something there, and I know people are seeing it. So things like that just intrigue me. Some of the lake monsters I'm really curious about. Especially up here, like the lake. What's it? Okanagan, Ogden, or something. Anyways, there's a lake up here, not too far
Okeechobee?
over in Canada.
Not Okeechobee, is it? Or am I getting it wrong?
Maybe. I don't have it in front of me, so I
Yeah,
can't.
there's so yeah, I know, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many.
I'm throwing in some wild punches and you ain't prepared
Yeah,
for them. It's all good. But
yeah, no,
uh but yeah, I mean, lake monsters, and that's another thing that really intrigues me because there is so many stories, encounters from all over the world. There's
right.
got to be something there. But the lakes and the oceans in our world are, people think we know what's down there, but I mean, we really
Well,
don't know.
like this lake right behind me, Lake Quinault, it's almost 300 or a little over 300 feet deep.
Wow.
Nobody's, as far as I know, nobody's ever been to the bottom of it. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's a lake monster in there. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things. Here on the Olympics, what a lot of people don't realize, and one of the things that intrigues me the most about the topography and stuff is that the peninsula has really been cut off from the modern world, and so this is the Quinault rainforest right behind me, and when you go in there, it's kind of, I mean, it looks normal from here, but when you get in there, it's just moss covered on everything, yeah, ferns everywhere. It's kind of almost fairy tale like. But there's over 100 species right here on the Olympic Peninsula that are unique genetically. They're not found anywhere else.
Oh
You have
wow.
Quinault bluebacks, the Quinault blueback salmon swimming in this lake and in this river. It's not found anywhere else.
Huh.
Um, you got a species of trout, the Colonel Bob trout, up in Lake Crescent, and it's unique to there. The Roosevelt elk, they're unique only to this region. You're not going to find them genetically. They're different. So this place really holds a lot of promise for something like a Sasquatch, I think.
Yeah, I would think so too. And the counter
Yeah.
that we're not talking about yet, that happened up there, right?
Well, actually all of them. We've had so many over the course of 3 years. Things happen. I never, I like to go out and look. And you've had a guest on here, Mel
Yeah, oh yeah, Mel
Scahan.
Scahan.
Yeah. And he said something that really struck a chord with me when all this started going on. He said, "You don't go, you don't find them; they find you." And I believe that 100%. When I heard that before this, I'd heard that him say that on that Flash of Beauty, I think, or one of them shows.
Flash of Beauty.
Yeah, I think maybe that's where I heard
Yeah.
him say it. But when I heard him say that, I was like, I don't even know what that means. They find you, you don't find them, kind of thing. I get it now. I
Yeah.
get it. They like come specifically, "Oh, I'm going to look for Matt Parrish," but they get curious and they come to you. But if you go out there trying to find them in their element out there, forget it, Jack. Not gonna happen. You'll find where they've been. Um, the only way you're gonna find them out there is if they expose themselves to you. If you just happen to get lucky coming around a corner and they're crossing a Forest Service road or something.
Yeah. So what can I ask you about your encounter in Texas?
That was basically it. The one that I told you about with me and my grandmother.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, and
I thought
then
you had another one from Texas, but that was
well, we had one thing happen. It was kind of interesting. We were out there on that ghost road, and there's a pipeline out there. And in high school, that's the hangout spot. Everybody goes out there, and we have big bonfire parties and everything like that, and just kind of chill. And so we're out there, and we're hanging out, and we're right on the little where the pipeline is, because it's an open area for us. And after a little while, one of the guys said, "Hey, I'm going to go over behind those two trees and go to the bathroom." I've been out there my whole life, off and on. I'd never seen two trees in that spot, and these were not big trees. These were like 7, 8 feet tall. And I told him, I said, "You go over there if you want, but you could just see silhouette. It didn't quite have a human figure, and it didn't quite have a Sasquatch figure. I don't know what they were. It was too dark." I told him, I said, "You can go over there if you want, but I don't think you're going to come back, because I'm pretty convinced those are not trees or even large bushes. I don't know what that is." And that's when we all just kind of stood around. It got kind of silent and eerie, and then everybody started partying again and doing their thing. And we looked over after a while, and they were gone.
Oh,
whatever
wow.
it was. And
Well, good thing them guys didn't go
it was
over
kind of
there.
creepy. Yeah, I don't know if it was. I don't know what it was. It was just a
That's cool.
creepy
That's cool.
experience. Yeah.
So, besides Bigfoot and the Thunderbird, have there been? I mean, hell, you can go ghosts or aliens if you want, or you don't have to.
We had one night, here on the lake right behind me. I just got home from work, and we had I saw what looked like a little ball come over the this ridge right back here behind me, and it dropped down to the lake, but it wasn't emitting any kind of light.
Ambient.
It was glowing, but it was glowing, but it didn't have any. It wasn't casting any light on the lake or anything, which I thought was very odd. And so I'm watching this, and about that time, two fighter jets came over the ridge and chased it, and it went right up and over the other side of the ridge, and they were gone. And I just thought to myself, I thought, what did I witness? Like, I don't know. That was a bizarre incident. And then I did some work with a television network that's going to be coming out. I can't quite talk about that yet, but we witnessed while we were filming out there behind me what I thought was campers on top of the ridge at first, and then the more I got to looking at it, I realized that there was no trail or no road going up there, and there was just a glow, that same kind of glow. And then it slowly started moving down through the trees and crossed in front of us and went up the other side of the ridge and disappeared. And I started looking at the crew. I'm like, y'all don't have a drone or something up there, or y'all aren't playing around, do you? Are y'all, No, not us, They were just as surprised as I was. And so we were just all kind of one of those scratch your head moments, like, what did we just witness,
So, all right, couple questions. So the first one you saw, where the fighter jets came through, could you give any kind of a size description, or was it just?
Well, from where I was, it didn't look very big at all. It looked like maybe, it's going to sound weird, but it looked like maybe a basketball size from where I was.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot bigger, but
I'm not trying to put you on point.
The fighter jets definitely looked way bigger in size compared to it when it came over. So that was intriguing to me, that why would they be chasing this little thing? But then the second thing that we saw, and the one I told you about with the crew, that was actually a good size. Like I said, I thought it was somebody's tent, and they were in there, at first, and it was the light from the tent. You know what I'm talking about? At nighttime, when you look at a tent that's got a light on inside, that's what it looked like to me at first. And then it wasn't until it started moving, and I realized, I was like, oh, that ain't no tent.
Wow, that's pretty good size then.
Yeah, it looked like you could put, a couple of guys in there, easy.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I know you don't have the answer. I don't have the answer. But do you think there's any connection? Because I know
with Bigfoot.
But of course, you know where I'm going with this. Yeah. Because
so. People have asked me that before, and my personal opinion, David Politis, he did a 411 UFO connection, and here in Washington, there's a famous incident that took place where a group of loggers observed an elk being abducted by a UFO and carried off. And then that got me to thinking about cattle mutilations and all this other stuff that goes on across the country. Aliens, UFOs, they're interested in us. They're abducting us. They're abducting other animals. Why would they not do it with Sasquatches as well? I don't think that Sasquatches are aliens. I think it's more earthly, just because so much of the stuff that I've seen. Now I'm subject to change. I've got an open mind, so I am open-minded about it. But as the data comes in, but at the moment, I feel like it's more going to be a cross between a hominid and a primate.
I'm on board with you on that, but I'm also on board with you have to keep an open mind, because
you do.
Honestly, we don't know. We just don't know.
One thing I've learned about this stuff, whether it's dealing with Sasquatch or anything, when you think you've got it figured out, a curveball gets thrown at you.
Exactly.
And so, you got to be subject to change. So anybody that comes, I've heard a lot of people like, or I see them in these chats sometimes. Oh, I'm an expert on. No, you're a closed-minded individual. If you're an expert, nobody can tell you nothing at that point.
Yeah,
you're closed-minded. So, you gotta keep an open mind about it all, and be willing to change as the data comes forward. So I definitely think that there is a connection between UFOs and Bigfoot. Too many credible people have seen them and have seen stuff. I've seen stuff that I can't explain. But for me personally, I don't feel like Bigfoot's coming down in a spaceship from outer space. I feel like it's already here.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that. And just for the record, the only thing I'm an expert at is effing up. So.
Is what?
Effing up.
Oh yeah.
I didn't want to say. I wanted to keep it PG-13, so I didn't want to say the whole word.
Show. Ask my wife; she'll tell you. I'm good at that too.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
What was that, a beep?
Yeah, I think my producer Dirty's over there trying to bleep us. Maybe I can't say it. All right, can I say it's Dirty? All right. Hold on, you got to time it right. I'm an expert at. There you go.
That's nice. I like that. No, so right
He's
here.
on point.
Ask my
So,
wife; she'll tell you.
oh yeah, oh, I know. Same here. Yeah.
She's gonna tell. She's gonna tell me when she sees this. I can't believe you said that.
I'm sure I'm going to hear a couple things too, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. We're having fun.
So, all right. So, oh my gosh. So now I want to hear about your Bigfoot stuff. And like I said, I want the, and I still, and for the audience to know, I still haven't heard the last thing you're going to tell me. So
Right.
you can start up with some teasers or however you want leading up to it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you pretty much how it started here in Washington for me. Or for, I just told you I heard the Ohio howl back in 2018 up on Lake Crescent. So we ended up moving here to Quinault, and here on the backside of the lake, and I don't, anybody that's watching that knows anybody, I don't mean any disrespect when I bring this up or anything like that. I'm not trying to trigger any bad memories, but we do have a lot of 411 missing people back there on the backside of the lake, like just vanished without a trace. And I'm not in any way suggesting that Bigfoot or anything, I don't know. That's tragic. That's horrible what happened. But I'm just a curiosity in me. Wanted to see these areas where these people were going missing, what it was like. So after the search had ended for one of them, a guy named Dwayne Miles up here in October of 2021, I had never been to Graves Creek, so I went up to the region after the search. I let them do their thing and everything, and I wanted to check it out and see what it looked like. So I go up there, and I'm hiking into this area, and I get about a mile in, and I'm doing my thing also. I'm looking for tracks and everything, whatever, whether it be Bigfoot or, anything. And I don't see anything going in. So this, the sun's starting to set. It's a little further back there than I thought it was. It took me a little bit longer to get back there. So I decided, okay, I need to turn around and come back out, because I didn't have any of my gear or anything like that. I was just quick in and out type thing. So I'm hiking back out, and on the trail, there's a single footprint right behind me on the way out that was following me. It was in the same direction that I was going down the trail. I never heard anybody. And I actually managed to snap a photograph of it. So that really got me to intrigued more. I'm like, okay, so there's something going on here, whether this is a person and I just missed it, but who would be out here barefooted? I didn't have a tape measure or anything, so I couldn't measure it. It was within human proportions.
Yeah.
So I'll say that. But it was barefooted. And so we go back out. I come back and I tell my wife, I said, I want to go back out there and look again. So then a couple days later, when my daughter's out of school, we go. Now she's 5 years old at this time, and she doesn't really know about like myths and legends and the whole controversy with Bigfoot. So we're driving out there, and she sees an elk, and she goes, "Oh, there's an elk." And we're like, "Oh," we look over, there's an elk. And then a little bit further down the road, she goes, this is like a Forest Service road going back up in there. She goes, "Oh, there's some eagles." We look over, there's some eagles. And this goes on and on. After a while, she goes, "Oh, there's a Bigfoot." And me and my wife just both kind of laughed. We didn't even look. We just kind of laughed at one another, because I was like, there's no way, she saw that. Right here, this close to civilization, where we live, it's a little community right here on the lake. There's not that many people, but at that time, my thinking was these things going to be way out in the bush, right? Not this close. And so we got maybe 100 yards up the road, and it just kept eating at me. And I said, I got to check this out.
Yeah.
I told my wife, I said, let's back the truck up. So I said, because she's been right about everything else. So we back it up. And I said, where is he at? And she's looking, and she goes, I don't see him anymore. He was right by that tree, and he's gone now. So, okay. So anyways, we kind of laughed it off again. We drove on, and we get out there, we go on our hike and everything. And we're leaving. And as we're hiking back out, she goes, there's a person up there in a blue and orange jacket, Dad. And I'm thinking Dwayne Miles, because this is in the wintertime. There's nobody out here, right? Is in the winter months, we don't have, I mean, out there on them trails, you'd be hard pressed to find another soul. So me and my wife, we hollered a couple times, hey, look out. We didn't, nobody answered, nothing. We get back to the truck and we're getting our stuff and unpacking our bags and everything, getting back in, settled in. And out of the woods comes a man and a woman wearing a blue, and one wearing a blue jacket and orange jacket. So that always had me thinking, what did she see that day? Did she really see a Sasquatch standing there? So I was always intrigued. So I started going out more. And that first year that we lived in our house here, at nighttime, around midnight, between midnight and 1 o'clock, we would get a real kind of musky smell, not like overpowering. You hear people talk about, it's kind of funny because
Walking into
actually,
a wall of smell.
yeah, the majority of people that I've actually interviewed very rarely, most of the witnesses that I've talked to report a smell, So, but it was just a real mild kind of animal smell, and so we thought maybe a bear. And it wasn't until we moved into uh, the 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 house next door to us, because we needed a bigger house because we had a baby on the way, that things really kind of got more intense, with the encounters, and we realized what we were dealing with then. And since then we've had things come up on the window tapping, um, things that will come up and look in the window. These animals, and you'll catch a glimpse of them. I've convinced my wife to leave one window in the house uncovered that faces the tree line. But you can, but
You a brave
very,
SOB.
it's very limited what you can see in that one window. So
Yeah.
it's not like it's not like you're gonna walk up and just watch us doing everything. Um, Two of the really interesting encounters I can't talk about because I've already, like I said, I did a thing with the show.
Yeah. No, it's
But
cool.
after that airs, I'll come back and give you an exclusive and go into details
Perfect.
and all
So we got
that.
a
So
round 2 coming up, right?
yeah, if you
Okay.
want it, yeah. But I
Y'all
will
heard
tell
it
you
here
that
first.
yeah, I will tell you that the one thing that we've learned is like a lot of the encounters seem really scary, but this has been going on for 3 years now. And one thing that I've learned that if they really wanted to do harm, they could, but I don't think they are. I think they're just curious, and but because of what they are, you're not expecting that, and so it's really scary. And we actually managed to catch them on film, and you're gonna see some of that in a documentary, and I'll send you that, but we can't.
Okay, yeah.
We
I don't
can't
I
air
don't
that
even want to
just
say
yet.
the name because I don't want to get you in trouble. So,
Yeah, but we
but
can't just air that just yet. But I'll send you that personally. You can look at that
okay, yeah, I ain't
for
going
yourself.
it ain't going nowhere until you say it goes
But
somewhere.
but I will tell you one thing I learned is that they operate in groups of two, and I will tell you this, probably the most intense encounter that I had that I didn't talk about on camera yet was, it was early one morning. They like to come up beside the tree line, and our bedrooms are right on the tree line, and so I had moved they were getting to where they were tapping and messing more with the windows, and they really love the plastic on the, so we have window units, and the plastic screen on each side that you stretch out
Yeah,
of the window
yeah,
unit to fill the gap.
yep.
They really love to play with that plastic, and kind of crinkle it,
Huh.
and I guess they just are amused with the sound, right? Well, this was getting to where it was like really starting to
Annoy you?
mess with our sleep, so because we only sleep like 4 feet from it.
Yeah.
So I put up a floodlight, right? And I seen the light pop off. And it was early in the morning. It was still dark out. It was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning. So, no, it was 4:30 in the morning, almost 5, not quite. Because I remember, because I called my dad immediately. And I was like, you're not going to believe this. But as I looked out the window, I seen it run along the tree line, and it, instead of running up the road and into the thicker woods, it jumped into a set of like bushes right across the street from us. And so they're right here on the lake. These bushes right down here. There's actually several houses right here. I'm actually on one of the other houses on the property right now. Uh, that's why you're able to see this good view. But anyways, so it jumped in this set of bushes right here, and so it's pinned. It can't go nowhere. It's got the lake right there, and then there's a big giant bulkhead. And so I'm watching, and I go into our laundry room, and from our laundry room is kind of like a sunroom. It used to be a sunroom, and they've changed it, and everybody makes modifications and stuff. But so it's a laundry room now, but it's got these big giant windows all the way around it. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this thing, waiting for it to come back out. And to my backside is the tree line, the rainforest. And about that time, there's a tapping on the window right behind me, and I turn around just in time to see this big figure looking back at me, and it scared the bejesus out of me because I'm in this little room and there's just this pane of glass between us.
Yeah.
And about that time, this thing in the bushes took off, and I was like, "They're working in teams."
Distracted you.
Yeah, the one came up behind me and distracted me, so the other one could, maybe a younger one. I mean, he was good size. He was a little bit bigger than me. I say he. I didn't see no genitalia, but I didn't see no breast either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took off, and that's when it dawned on me. I said, these things are working in teams. They coordinate with one another, and I think that's one of the keys to their success. Why they're able to stay so well hidden is because I think that they have language. I've got audio recordings that I've put out, and you can hear them talking, chattering. For the longest time, I know a lot of people say it's like Asian talk or like samurai chatter. You heard that term? Yeah, that term. I think it more mimics like the Native American language here. I think, in my opinion, but. And then even Mel had suggested that I try learning some Native American language here and try talking and doing things like that. So that's what we've been doing. We've been trying different things, but that was the most intense encounter. And I actually called my dad, and I was on the phone with him when this was going on because I said it just ran into the bushes because he's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Crazy too. And so when it happened in the tapping, he was on the phone with me, and he said, and I said, I said a bunch of, your producer's going to have to bleep out a lot of stuff, but like an episode of Osborne's there. So I started saying a bunch of stuff, and I said, I'm getting out. I'm getting out of this room because it's just a lot of glass in there.
Holy cow.
And so he's yelling at me real quick. No, get a picture. So I got a real, you couldn't even tell if you're looking at the picture,
Yeah.
And I said, boy, I was shaking like a leaf,
I
man.
bet you was.
That was the most intense thing because I was not expecting that. I always just assumed that there was just one. I mean, I know that we've seen different tracks, but I didn't think they come through all at the same time. I thought maybe it would be like one here, one there. Different times.
I've heard so many encounters from people that talk about like they'll do something to distract them, and like one will be following, and then one will make something over here to where they draw their attention, and then boom, it's like gets the other one out of a bad situation, and it sounds like that's what happened.
I believe that. I believe that's exactly what was taking place, and. It's kind of like me and my dad talk about it, and we joke because we talk about the movie Jurassic Park where he says, the raptors, there's the scene, and he says it's not the one that you can see, it's the one you can't see that you got to worry about. And that's kind of the way it is with Sasquatches, I believe. It's not the one that you can see; it's the one that you can't see. There's one nearby, and I'm not saying that they're dangerous. I'm not saying because, like I said again, if these things wanted to inflict harm, they could.
Oh,
I just
100%.
believe, but I also believe that if you were out there in their territory during certain times of the year, in the right spot in the right place, you could go, you
You're
could
in
find yourself in
danger.
a bad situation real quick, just like any animal. You go into their home, but they're coming up into here around our houses and everything, and I think they recognize that this is our home. This is our place of residence, so they just kind of curious as they pass through, and they want to inspect and see
Well,
what's
you're
going on.
you're
And,
their
and
entertainment.
exactly, yeah, and we're really the only family on the block here. There's really no other families here. I got one elderly lady to my left and one down the road. So, that's about it. And then some other people on the other end, of the little loop that we live on. But there's no children, nothing like that. So that,
Well,
and we're we're different than other Washingtonians. We're Texans, so we talk different. We eat
yeah,
different food. We eat a lot of Cajun food, gumbo, stuff like that.
yeah.
And
You probably
uh,
smell different, look different, talk different.
yeah, we're just like a box of oddities,
Yeah,
for them.
yeah. That's
So
something different from them. I'm sure that's like, ooh, we got a new
yeah,
channel on the TV.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so,
So
so all right. Do you have another one? Or are you ready to tell me?
oh yeah, so I've been investigating this thing, and I've well, there's so many good ones, but the most exciting thing that happened this weekend, it was this past weekend actually. There, I was sitting at the house. It was Friday night. I got my notes. I've been keeping a journal of everything, but it was
Perfect.
Friday night, and it was 8:30 two in the evening, and so my phone goes off, and I look over, and someone says, "Hey, there's a Bigfoot in my yard," you know. So I say, "Okay," and so it's a little more than that, but
Yeah.
um, so then I'm sitting there, and I'm looking, I'm doing my stuff and talking to them, and a little bit later, ping, my phone goes off again. A little further down the road, another one, another sighting. And this goes on for 2 hours, seven different individuals over a 2 hour period.
Oh my
And I
God.
could track this thing going south. And it went from, if you were to look at us on a map, we were in Quinault, and then this thing appeared in Nilton, and then it appeared again on what they call the Moclips Highway. And so I was actually able to track this thing over a 2 hour period with seven different witnesses. Everybody knows everybody here, but for
Yeah.
them all to get together to say, "Hey, we're going to prank Matt,"
Yeah. No. No.
tonight,
No.
that doesn't happen. And in
No.
that kind of time frame, that nobody up here is really about that kind of prank and kind of thing. And that's the other thing too. Up here, I have my experiences, but they have just as many as I do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I truly believe, like, where I'm at right now could be well, according to the BFRO, it's the highest concentrated area for the most credible Sasquatch reports anywhere in the nation. So, and I believe that, because these people are so quiet, but when they find out who you are and what you are into, boy, the floodgates start opening. and
Yeah. Well,
and
then
it's
you got to
and,
think
and
also, not just the concentration, but imagine the population's not as like dense as it is, around like where I live or in
well,
Texas.
yeah, right here you got like 100 people maybe, and then
Yeah.
there's nothing going for almost 45 minutes to an hour till you get to Aberdeen, and then nothing for an hour and a half till you get to Forks, and then all that behind me, that's 1,000,000 acres
Wow.
plus
Wow.
nothing
That
to the
makes it
Puget
so
Sound.
much more credible to me when, I mean, when you have that concentration of sightings, but
Right.
not even that many people.
I'm putting my jacket on. It's temperature's
Starting to get
starting to drop a
chilly?
little bit.
You're
Yeah,
good.
it's starting to drop a little bit here, but getting in the evening time. But yeah, no, it definitely uh makes it more credible when you have that many people, and the stories are all similar. You know, it's nothing bizarre or outside of the box of you know, it's not so drastic. Like this one says, oh, they're talking to me telepathically, and then
Yeah.
this one says, oh, they're, you know, coming in my house and stuff. You know, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
They're all pretty much similar. And what I think it is they're just very curious. They come up. Some of us they visit more frequent than they do others,
So,
and a lot of people don't even recognize half the time when they do because they've grown up here their whole life.
yeah, and it's probably just something mundane that,
Yeah.
So, with the people that were calling you, was anybody able to give you like a
Oh,
description?
yeah. Yes. So the most exciting one to me, it was scary for him. He was actually outside when it occurred. He was unloading groceries out of his car, and the thing came around the corner of the house, and they just both kind of stood there for a minute, like they caught one another, you know, by surprise. Definitely caught him by surprise, but he caught it by surprise, I think. I don't think maybe it was expecting him to come back out or whatever. He said he had some McDonald's in the front seat and that he hadn't unloaded yet, and he thinks that maybe that smell might have drew him
I
out.
don't
But
blame them.
it rattled him so bad, it shook him so bad that he was on the phone. He spent almost an hour and 45 minutes on the phone with me,
Oh wow.
because he was just he'd never, like, he knew they're here. He's seen signs of them, but he never had that personal.
Face
And
to
I asked him, I said,
face.
yeah, I asked him, I said, how close do you think you were? And he said we couldn't have been maybe 30 feet. And but I had a backtrack, you know, because we've talked already some, but I had
Yeah.
a sighting back in I've had two sightings since I've been here, and the the very first sighting that I had was down in the Gifford Penchant National Forest near Mount St. Helens, and it was just something. Um, it was a ridge kind of like that, but a little bit closer, and there had been a section on it that had been clear cut, and there was a logging road that was. So when we came around this curve and we're looking, me and my wife, I seen what I initially thought was a black bear. That was my first guess. And I told her, I said, "Oh man," I said, look at that bear up there." I got all excited, and I said, "That's a big bear." And I thought it was like on its back legs standing up, right? And what I, as we were watching it, it started walking, and I realized that what we were looking at was actually the side profile of this thing, not a bear. I said, and it was just kind of, we just both kind of had this like head scratching moment, and we're like, surely that's not. And I was like, I don't. Is that what I think that is? You know?
Can't be.
And then we were gone. The whole thing lasted maybe 10, 20 seconds. And then earlier this year, I had a really good sighting. Well, other than the one here at the house that I told you about, where I seen the backside and everything, but the really good, I had uh, back in February around 10 in the morning, and I was headed up the road to a little store that we have out here, a little general store, mercantile, and so it was in a grove of adlers, and it was standing just stiff as could be. But the one thing that I remember the most was the face, the nose. The nose is what got me. The nose was
They say
it was huh?
hooded or
No, yeah, it went like a monkey, not like a primate or a gorilla or anything. Not it was like a really big person with a flare, like their nose was flared out a little bit, you know,
gotcha.
their nostrils, but it was very human like. That's the thing that stuck out. And it had hair uh on most of its face except for like this area right here, and the lips were just, I remember the lips were not like really like big fat, you know, like primate lips. They didn't have like a little snout thing or anything. It was just very kind of a
Thin,
straight line.
thin
And
like thin lips.
like, yeah, but I'm not sure if they were pressed or, you know, because I think he might have been agitated when I came by because I think he was attempting to cross the road. So I think it's just kind of, you know, how you stand statuesque. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if the lips were kind of like pressed in, but they were thin looking to me and they were straight. Um, no, you know, no curvature, you know, like when you smile or frown.
Huh.
But the skin was a milky grayish color, and the hair was a cinnamon, like an ashy cinnamon, almost like cinnamon sugar when you
Yeah.
mix it up. That's kind of the color that it was. And there wasn't much of a cone on the head. The head was, I mean, there was a little bit, but it was like a chimp. That's what it kind of, some of the body features, you know, chimp, you know, you see Patty and she's got that big cone, that
Yeah.
big dome
The crest.
thing. Yeah, and this wasn't there. This was, it was just more like a chimp, just a slight curvature.
I got you.
And and the 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 front part of it was not muscular and all ripped like you know, like you see in the pictures and stuff like that. It was the same. It was kind of like a chimp's body, just kind of, you know, just
Long and
flat.
lanky.
Yeah, long and lanky, but flat. But one thing that I remember is that the legs, to me, seemed misproportioned a little bit. Like the thighs were really thick, and I don't know if it's just that the hair there was thicker. Um, but and it just stood there very statuesque, like, you know, put its hands by its side, arms by its side, and it just waited for me to pass. And my truck is about 6 feet off the ground, and this was about another three, 3.5 feet above my truck in height. And I think that
Holy
might be the
cow.
guy. Yeah, it wasn't too far. You know, when we first moved here and I first started collecting reports, you would hear these reports of 11, 12 feet. And I think, no, that's, you know, and me being a lieutenant and uh, investigating it the way I would things, you know, in my previous job, I tried to, you know, I know that a lot of eyewitness reports can be misleading sometimes, especially when you're afraid. You can say, oh, well, you know, you tend to remember things a little differently when you're scared. But no, I don't think that they, you know, the more I investigate these things and you start going through the variables and different, and then I have my own sighting, of course, um, you know, you start to realize that these things are bigger here than the 8 to 9 foot. That we got guys running around here that are more in the 11 to 12 foot range. And so when I talked to this witness the other night, the one that was 30 feet away, he described the exact same thing I saw. And so I have absolutely no reason to doubt his story, you know,
Wow.
any bit. And so it was really exciting to be able to almost watch in real time, you know, as this thing traveled south down
Yeah,
101.
that is so
Yeah.
cool. I mean, that
Yeah.
is so cool. That is so awesome that you're so in touch with everybody out there, that they're connecting with you like that, and you could
Oh yeah.
watch its travels.
It's taken 3 years to get here, you know, to get these people to open up more. But these animals here, or I call them animals, creatures, whatever they are, forest people, um, they are uh, as common as the elk and the bear and the cougar here. You know, I mean, you just, and that's the thing. But I think, you know, a lot of people overlook all the little signs that they leave because, like I said, they grow up here. They're accustomed. You know, they get used to it. Um, there sounds like the woodpecker. You know, I sent you a video of what sounds like chest beats to me, and I've had that looked at by many people, forest service people. Uh, I sent it to Mel, and they all come back and they say, "Well, that doesn't sound like a woodpecker." You know, I've looked at hundreds of videos on YouTube trying to imitate that sound, and you know, but when you first hear it, you think, "Oh, there's a woodpecker out there."
That's
You know, you don't think twice about it.
that's really really observant because I hear a woodpecker, around here in Missouri, and
Hmm.
I think, oh, that's a woodpecker. But I never ever really connected the two, like, because you're right. When a
Yeah,
gorilla does a chest beat,
it's
it's
more of
like,
a hollow,
yeah, it's like, and it's real
and
quick, kind of like a
you
woodpecker.
never, you never hear about that on the shows, the documentaries, people,
No.
eyewitnesses reporting that they do chest beats, but I think they do, and I don't see why they
Why
wouldn't.
wouldn't
Just
they?
like any other, if you're trying to project that you're in an area, and the key detail to me, I probably would have never caught it either, if we hadn't heard what sounded like two gorillas just going at it prior to
I
that.
remember
By the
me
time I
telling
got my
you,
phone,
or you telling me about that.
yeah, by the time I got my phone, um, that was already over with. And so I'm sitting there and I'm just, and you can tell from the video, there's a couple seconds, uh, for a little while where there's nothing, just nothingness. And then all of a sudden you hear, and then
So,
you hear it a second time at the end of the video.
so when you heard that, I remember you telling me about that, but I don't know if I remember all the details. So what exactly did you hear?
We were outside, me and my daughter were, and we heard off in the forest behind us. It sounded just like it sounded like a National Geographic special where the chimps or the gorillas are just going at it, just
Wah,
fighting,
wah,
and then
wah,
you
when
could
they're going
hear,
crazy.
yeah, and then you could hear the brush just snapping like trees, just the underbrush, just it sounded like there was a battle going on,
It
and
probably
so
was.
I was just like, you kind of starstruck, I guess, or whatever, awestruck.
Yeah.
You're like, what the hell is that? Your brain's trying to rationalize, and then it's so close to your house too, and you're trying to, and then I'm looking over at my daughter. I'm like, are you hearing this too? And she is, and so I was like, I gotta get to my phone. So I run inside. We run inside, and I grab my phone. And by the time I got back out, I was sitting there. It's just silent. There's
Oh,
nothing. I was like, damn. I was like, damn, I missed it. You know. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I said, well, I'm gonna cut it off. So I started recording. I was like, maybe they'll go at it again. And then that's what I caught was that. And
so
so
this happened not long ago, correct?
this happened. This was last spring.
Oh, last spring. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. I
yeah.
didn't
It was in
realize
the
it was that
springtime.
far off. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah.
That's
It's one of the older videos from when I first started up here. But yeah,
okay. You've
yeah.
got so many
But we
tales. I have trouble remembering which happened when.
but you can occasionally hear that in the springtime, around here. You'll hear something, uh, chest
I wonder
beats.
what the connection with spring is.
I wonder, maybe males, maybe young ones, maybe trying to practice claiming territory. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, that's a good
You
theory.
know,
It's a good theory.
uh, and maybe the adult males telling other males to steer clear. This is where the babies are. I don't know.
Yeah,
Could be
okay.
a lot
So
of
that
things.
might make some sense because a little theory I've always had is I don't know. I think the amount of sightings, encounters, and such seem to escalate a lot around October. They really
Yep.
do. I mean, I maybe I don't know about there, but
Well,
I know here it really seems to be like that. And I've always had this theory, and it's just a theory, that maybe that's their mating season, and
well,
kind of like bucks and does,
I
like
think
that's
I
go ahead.
I, I think you're right on the money with that. Um, same thing here. You can hear off these ridges right behind me in October and November sometimes. We're here right at dusk, especially on a real good, like, stormy night. Like if it's, just if it's starting to set in and come across the lake, you'll hear what sounds like, it's kind of like a roar, but it's got like a wah at the front of it, like a wah, and it'll come off and it'll echo across the lake. And so I always wondered, is that like a big male coming in announcing his presence? When we first moved here, me and my daughter went to get some food from the Salmon House, a little restaurant, resort place on the other side of the lake here. And we we got out of the car. This ridge right here, we had heard that wah, and it just lasted just long time. And I just stood there, and she's standing there, and I was like, "Is this?" was like, is this happening? Well, as soon as it ended, directly behind us, there was a high-pitched whistle. And then about 100 yards down from that one, there was a second one. And I was like, okay, get back in the car. So, because like I'm curious, but I got my daughter with me and everything. So we get back in the car and I crack the window. I'm sitting there, I'm listening. I'm like, what is going on? Like, is that, and then it wasn't until and then after a while we got out and went, got our food. There was no more sounds or anything like that. But, we always, it made me think, and we've heard it a couple times since. Not the whistles. I've only heard the whistle one other time, and that was at my house one night. And we'll talk more about that after some things air elsewhere. But yeah, so, but occasionally you'll hear around October and November, you'll hear just real loud.
Oh, I've heard it. I've heard it here in Missouri.
Oh yeah. You have, haven't you? Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to see who you are.
Yeah. I want to see you, but I don't want you to be close.
Yeah. Actually, that night I didn't want to see. I was just like,
oh yeah. I imagine, especially that was at nighttime. You said.
Yeah, it was right at 2 a.m.
Oh wow.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I was sound asleep in my little blind. I got woke up by that. I was gonna sleep all night in the deer blind, and I didn't sleep all night.
Oh wow. That's crazy.
So,
I was watching your show the other night, the one with Phil.
Oh, Phil? Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching, and he said something. Something I wanted to bring up is a little, it's still Bigfoot, but switching gears from here, he said something about the park rangers will shut down certain areas, campgrounds and stuff because these animals come in and tear. I agree with him 100% on that, and I kind of wanted to touch base from, I've noticed there's Olympic groups that I'm with and different hiking and stuff, not just Bigfoot, but I keep track of it all going on, because I like to have a big net casted,
Yeah, I got you.
Look at this stuff. So, but I'll see that they will start and people get mad. They're closing this trail down, blah, blah, blah. So I just get curious. I'll go look what else is going on in that area. And lo and behold, they'll start having sightings in that area.
Yeah.
So, do I think that there's a conspiracy to keep it hidden in the big government agenda? Personally, working in government and having family in government, I don't think that there is an agenda to keep it hidden from the public. I think that, it's like I talked to a couple of them. They said we don't quite, a couple of park rangers and stuff like that. And they said we don't, even a police officer who's still a police officer, but here, and they don't have it's like they say, well, what do you want us to do about it? What can we do about it?
Yeah.
And so I can tell you right now that in my old job, if one of my officers came to me and said, hey, this is what we saw, man, I'm going to say, you're going to keep that to yourself.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Because we don't have the authority to
do anything about it.
To do anything about it or declare it as a species.
Understandable.
So you if you start running around and saying, hey, I saw this officially in an official capacity, you subject yourself to a whole can of worms. So I think as a individual department and the do higher ups in government know that these things exist? Absolutely. I have no doubt. But until science can come forward and prove it, they're not going to step forward first. And so until then, they're going to continue to do what they've done, and that's tell their people, hey, you like your job? Don't talk about that. It's not that they're personally trying to, there's some secret agenda here. It's that they're trying to keep their department from coming under severe scrutiny, because the littlest minute mistakes that you make in anything, you could it could overturn convictions. It could overturn all kinds of, just a clerical error.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying that like they're doing bad stuff. That's why they don't want to be looked at. But um, people are human. You're going to make mistakes on paperwork and stuff like that occasionally. Um, and so and then too, you're dealing with taxpayer dollars. Hey,
Yeah.
this person's running around investigating Bigfoot, but we're also paying him $2 million a year, for his department, and he gets to decide, and it's still taboo because people, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I don't think that
100%. No.
I don't think that there's a big government conspiracy out there to keep it hidden. I think it's just
The cool thing
an
is,
individual personal thing.
you've said a lot of things tonight that I've never really thought about before, but you've got some points, especially like I pointed the one out earlier, but like this one too, that makes a lot of sense. It's like, okay, we have the evidence, we've seen it, but we don't have the, authority or, let's just
Right.
hear no evil, see no evil kind of thing.
Yeah. No,
So
I think once science comes forward and says, "Hey, these things are real, and we can prove that they're
things will
real,"
change.
I think you're going to see more government agencies say, "Well, this is what we have, this is
Yeah.
what we know, or this is what this officer."
I can't wait for
You,
that day.
I see, I seen you have a cast back there behind you
Yes.
before. I think off to your
Yes.
right. Is
Which
that the
one?
Grays Harbor cast?
The who?
Is that the Grays Harbor cast?
I've got Michael Freeman.
Right?
I got one from Cliff Barrickman,
Yeah.
and I got a knuckle print. Which one you want to see?
I think not the Michael Freeman one. I'm familiar with those, but I think it's that one right there that you got from Cliff. I think is the Grays Harbor
Give me
cast.
one
I've
second.
seen it before.
This is the one I got from Cliff. No, that's Paul Freeman. Yeah, this is the Cliff.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar
Hold
with
on,
that.
let
I'm
me
gonna
put
say
my
that's
headphones on. I can't hear you.
oh.
All right, I can hear you again, I think.
I'm pretty familiar with that cast. That's the Grays Harbor cast, if I'm not mistaken. If I'm
Yeah,
if I'm
he
looking at
didn't.
it
He
correctly.
didn't label it. When I bought it from him, it was the last one he
Oh,
had on his table.
that could be the cripplefoot. But yeah, I see the big, large toe pads on there.
Yeah, that's
Anyways,
really
if
big.
it is the Grays Harbor, the Grays Harbor cast is also a famous cast, and that's from right here. That's where I live, is in Grays Harbor County, and it was actually casted by a deputy, Deputy Hereford, I believe. And
Really?
anyways, he was very interested. If that's the Grays Harbor, it looks very similar. I'm not saying that
It
it is,
could
but
be.
it,
He
it
didn't.
looks
He
very
didn't
similar.
label it, and like I said, it was the
But
last one on his table, and I
yeah,
was like, I'm
but,
taking it.
if it is, Deputy Hereford was the one that casted those, and they're some of the most credible ones that are taken from Washington, along with the Paul Freeman
Oh
ones,
wow, yeah, this
and
thing is
and
huge.
but Deputy Hereford went to investigating Sasquatches, and he was basically told by the sheriff at the time, "Hey, cut it off," And he came out later. I learned, and the reason for all that being was because they didn't want the scrutiny. It wasn't a conspiracy. They didn't want the scrutiny, and
Yeah,
so that's. But when I saw your cast, I've seen it in other shows, and so that's what made me bring that up. We were talking about the conspiracy and stuff like that, and I think you actually have a cast. It is Grays Harbor.
yeah, I think so. That's what he's
Yeah,
telling me.
yeah, I
He
believed it.
he points, and I'm deaf and blind, so sometimes I think he's pointing here, sometimes I think he's pointing here, but
Yeah.
that's why he runs the show, and I'm just the idiot.
Uh, Dr. Meldrum's actually analyzed that cast that you got. Well, he's
Oh,
analyzed all
really?
those there actually, but yeah, so that's what makes it a little more credible. He's put his
Yeah,
input
I
on it,
figured if it came from
and
Cliff, it was pretty credible.
yeah, and you would have to. It was cast back in 1982, I believe. And you would have to be back then to fake some of the things, some of the features that are on there. Don't ask me the scientific term. I'm East Texan. I'm native Texan, so I can't speak science.
Yeah, I know. I got you.
Science terms. I
I
can't.
can't
I
either.
mean, I can speak science, but I can't pronounce them the way they probably should be pronounced. But anyways, there's some medical terms on there, and you would have had to been an expert back in 1982 to hoax some of those things. You would
Oh
have had
yeah.
to, and just to be out there in that area in the region where they were found near the Satsop
Yeah,
River here.
that's one of the things that drives me nuts when they're, well, it's a fake, it's fake. Well, sometimes it's fake, but sometimes they're out in areas that nobody's at. Nobody's
Right,
out there.
right.
It's
Well,
like,
that's what I've found stuff out there where there's nobody. I've recorded like chattering, like you can't make out what they're saying, but and I know I'm the only one out there, and that's scary. When you hear
yeah.
that, you're like,
Oh
oh
yeah.
man, what is that? But a lot of people say they're fake. What bothers me is a lot of stuff you see on the internet in these groups. Somebody will post just a single footprint, and they'll say, "Oh, this was found so and so," and then I can go to another page and say, "See the same picture of the same footprint," and they'll say a completely different backstory.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that you didn't find a footprint.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you hoaxed a footprint. Let me rephrase that. I'm not saying that you hoaxed a footprint, but there are so many hoaxers out there now that if you and I really hope the people watching your show, if they come across a footprint, they document the area, not just the footprint itself. Show us the other tracks, and if there are no other tracks, show us why there's no other tracks.
Yeah.
Is it rocky? Is it did we lose the thing because maybe this is the only muddy spot there is? But those are important details when you're documenting something to rule out possibilities of a
Yeah,
hoax.
yeah. The before, the after. Was there
Right.
any? And
I get
if you get one good track, was there maybe some partials that might have been or might not have been?
I,
Maybe.
I get a lot of single track photos all the time. People say, "What do you think of this?" And I tell them, well, it looks good, but I can't really give you any more information unless you show me or give me a location, show me those things. I can't really help you more than you got a cool picture.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I got a
Yeah,
picture of a
yeah,
footprint. Might be your
yeah. I
footprint.
mean,
How do I know?
yeah. I mean, keep sending them. I can tell you one thing that I've found with Bigfoot is that the majority of tracks that I found that are out in the middle of nowhere are actually within human proportions, but there are some key differences uh, that you will notice in the trackway and just how they walk, in the morphology of the foot and stuff.
Yeah,
Uh,
they seem to
I
walk in a
really
linear fashion.
right, right, and like the mid tarsal break,
Yep.
elongated toe pads. Their toe pads are a little bit longer than ours. Things, it's just little things you can do to kind of rule out the possibility of people. And then if you think you have a Sasquatch track, the best thing is to document it and then send it to an expert. Somebody like Jeff Meldrum or Doug Highcheck. He gets a lot of stuff.
Have you ever tried casting any?
I haven't actually. I did one time, and it didn't turn out too good. But
Yeah.
I got a app that I can scan and do like a 3D thing,
I've heard
and I think that's way better.
I've heard about that
Yeah.
app. Yeah, you can scan it and it kind of gives you like a 3D image of it. Is
Yeah,
that
and then
what
you
it
got it
is?
saved and right. Yeah, and then you
Okay.
got it saved, and you don't have to worry about uh, keeping all these plaster and stuff and figuring out where you're going to store all this stuff.
Send me the name of that app. I wouldn't mind downloading that myself. I've heard it before, but I don't remember what
Yeah,
it is. Or I mean, you
yeah.
can shout it out right now if you want.
I got to go look at my phone. I'll
Okay.
pull it up here in just a little bit, and I'll send it
All
to you.
right, maybe I'll attach it to the end of the show. But
Yeah, but no, that's there's a lot of great things that you can do. Try to remember as much detail if you do see one, time of day and all that.
yeah,
I know details get blurred, and a lot of people don't talk about their experiences until years later. Like I got one lady, she told me a really incredible story that happened here on the South Shore, but it was almost 10 years ago. So things get a
yeah,
little
you forget a
fuzzy.
lot of stuff, I'd imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
So Yeah,
So,
luckily when I had mine, I wrote it all down, and then I didn't even realize I had a sister till years later that had a eyewitness encounter
oh
until
wow,
until I told her about what happened to me, and she's like, "Oh, I've actually seen one." And she kind of
which
explained it. The way she explained it sounded like the boggy, the picture for Boggy Creek.
yeah,
She
yeah,
said that's what it was like. She said its arms went like way down past its knees, and she said it was
hmm
just like. I was like, I'm out.
yeah, I'm out. Wow, wow. What was
So
she doing when she saw it? Like, where?
they was
You got
out.
me
They was out
intrigued.
partying. And it wasn't far from where I had my experience. It was on another branch of river that came in, but there was out her and her boyfriend and a girlfriend and her boyfriend was all. I think they
Yeah,
spoke of weed, but I don't know.
yeah,
But they was out on a gravel road, and they said they saw this car come around the corner, and they saw the light pan across the field,
yeah.
and she said it was
There it was.
coming, and she said it was covered in hair, and she said
And just watching them,
huh?
and just watching them.
No, it was coming after him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was walking towards them. She
You
said
know,
by
and
the,
they
she said she screamed. They all screamed, and finally the car took off. But they got within like I don't know a couple feet of the car before it took off, or before they got
you know
out of there.
up here they seem to be more passive.
Just
You know,
want to
maybe
be
some
left
passive
alone.
aggressive behavior sometimes.
Yeah,
But down there in the south and like your neck of the woods,
yeah.
they seem to really
Be aggressive.
be aggressive.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
don't know
there's
if that
some.
has to do with. I think there's a lot less of them around here.
Well, me and my dad had this conversation, and I think that like up here at nighttime, everybody goes inside. Nobody really hangs out and parties on their porch or hangs out with family and has drinks on the porch like they would down there.
Yeah,
And so, and if you step onto somebody's property, I don't know how it is over there in Missouri, but I know in East Texas, if you come on the property messing around and we hear you, you're gonna step out on that porch and say, "Hey, you better make some noise. You fixing to get shot," you
yeah,
know,
yeah. No, it's not the
and
same difference.
you fixing to get confronted. That's not the case up here. After dark, these things come around and they pretty much have the run of the place
Huh.
after night. And so that's the big key difference. A lot of people, a lot of avid gun owners, but I haven't heard very many of them talk like that, where
Yeah.
they say, oh, well, I say, you hear something messing around on your property, you step out with your gun or something. No, no, it's outside. I'm inside,
Oh no.
I'm like, okay, well, not where
I,
I'm from,
yeah.
step out.
Well, that's where I'm
Hey, you
from
better make
too.
some noise.
I know. You better let me know who
to
you
get
is.
you fixing to get this bird shot.
Oh crap.
And so I think that might be why they're a little more aggressive in the South because you come out and you meet them with aggression. So
Yeah. Well.
are more often they're met with aggression.
Yeah.
So when they do come across people, like your sister's case, they're already I'm gonna beat them to the punch.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well.
So
Good. I'm glad they're not 11 foot tall around here. That's all I got to say. at
right.
least at least I haven't heard any stories of
I
really tall ones here. But holy cow.
I'll tell you how tall they are. It's crazy. My roof is 9 foot 4 inches to the eave, right? And for the longest time, me and my wife, we would hear. We have a metal roof, and we would hear something that sounded like metal cans kind of banging,
Yeah.
occasionally. And we're like, "What is that?" We'd be laying in bed. This is like 2, 3 in the morning, and we're like, "What is that?" And I get up and I go walking around. This this happened for months, and I'm trying to figure out what we can't figure it out. I said, I don't know what they're doing out there. We can't figure it out. Well, we had some limbs fall down on the house one day, and so I'm out there with the rake. I didn't have my ladder, and I just had the rake. So I'm trying to get them off the top of the house with the rake. And she come out and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm getting the limbs off the roof, and she right here on the edge." And she goes, "That's the sound. That's the sound." And I was like, and it dawned on me. I said, after I seen their picture, and then what recorded what people are going to see here soon. It dawned on me, I bet as they're walking around, they're just putting their hand on top of the house. And that's what that clank and that metal, we're actually hearing the metal
Maybe
pop.
even their nails, too.
Maybe. I don't know. It was, or they might be trying to pull it back. I know, like, I don't want to say too much.
Yeah, no.
But I know, like, they might be trying to pull the metal back a little bit to get little bugs or something, maybe.
That could be too.
Something
Yeah.
under the edge.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we get you in trouble, we'll go ahead and shut her down tonight, and we're definitely gonna have you back on, and it ain't gonna be very long. We'll wait till after it airs, and everything's kosher, and I'm sure we'll stay in touch between then. But
for sure.
I mean, obviously, you don't want to promote that. Is there anything else you want to promote for yourself or your sites or anything?
Actually, I do. We have the Paranormal Wilderness Facebook page. If you want to keep up more with what's going on here in my research, you can go there. And then at the first part of the year, I'm going to be having a book come out called The Sasquatches of Grays Harbor County.
Oh, awesome.
And basically, there's going to be, because my site is where we live, our property is kind of a habituation site.
Yeah.
I've decided to keep a lot of that out of there. I put in a few things, but majority of it is going to be the eyewitnesses and stuff around here. And what I've done is I've taken their stories and I've turned them into campfire settings. So you can take this book out when you go out to the woods or fishing or whatever, because, reading the reports, they can get kind of mundane and boring a little bit. Yeah. And we're going to have those in the book, in the back of the book, so you'll be able to reference the campfire story with the actual report of what actually,
that's a great idea.
So that's going to be in the book. And then I've got the Cryptid Con UK that I'm going to in May that people will be able to keep up with. And I don't know if you have any viewers in Europe, but
actually,
if you do, y'all should. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, hey, come on down, check it out, and see me and Harvest Moon. She's the indigenous storyteller. She's Quinault native storyteller, basket weaver. She's going to join virtually for my experience. And so you'll get to see and hear some of the Quinault culture, their relationship, what they call the Siatko, is Sasquatch. But Siatko translated is shy people in Quinault.
Shy people?
Yeah, shy people.
Oh.
That's what it translates to. And so you'll get to hear more about that and their relationship with the shy people.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you, Matt Parrish, for coming on tonight. It's been a blast talking to you. I've been dying to. I know we've talked before, but I was dying to interview you. And I could have went for another 2 hours easy, but my wife would probably kill me if I did. So
yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So
it's been fun.
My buddy Dirty over here, he wants to thank you. I want to thank you.
And everybody out there in Cryptid Land wants to
thank you. And hell, you know what? We're going to do it again coming up quick. But everybody out there in Cryptid Land,
keep it creepy.
Yeah, out in the woods where the shadows creep, I'm trying to find the legend that the people keep. Bigfoot's the name, got a story to tell. Footprints in the mud, can't you hear the bell? Whispers in the night, can you feel that chill? Bigfoot on the run, he's a legend, keep it real. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride. forest like I'm on a quest. Searching for the homie, you know he's the best. Got my camera ready, heightened senses on blast. Snap a shot of Sasquatch, legend unsurpassed. Eyes in the dark, you can't catch what you can't see. King of the woods, living wild and free. Bigfoot, yeah, he's the talk of the town. Creeping through the trees, never wearing a frown. Legend of the forest, he's got a big stride. As the trap beats thump, you know he's got pride.